So is the future of retail actually brick and mortar? Joining me now is somebody who certainly thinks so. Simeon Siegel is BMO Capital Markets Senior Retail Analyst. Simeon, I don't want to make too much of the brick and mortar thing, but you are pointing out that direct-to-consumer has its challenges today. Why is that?
Yeah, I'm not making many friends here, Kelly. How's it going? Or on the other hand, maybe I am, right? I think that what's so interesting, and you and I have talked about this before, is on the one hand, brick and mortar is an easy way to make money. And I say easy, I obviously don't, I'm oversimplifying, but you pay once, you pay your rent, and then every incremental dollar you make money on that. The problem with e-commerce is continually variable. But I think what's even more than that, so that's the conversation you and I have had historically. What's even more was my team did this study, it took us about 6 months, and we realized you actually can make money selling through wholesale. And that's, I think, this idea where everyone's pivoting away.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the biggest brands, the healthiest brands, they got there by embracing this view of retail that we're easily calling dead. It's really not.
Give me VF Corp as an example of that.
Yeah, so listen, VF Corp last week reported an increase in direct, like everyone else. So this isn't me picking on VF, just using them as an example because they just did. And yet where they reported the increase in direct, the total profitability, the margins were worse. And I think it's this interesting forest and trees conversation where everyone assumes that if I sell it directly and I eliminate the middleman, right? That has been the line for DTC, for direct to consumer, has been eliminate the middleman and you will make more money. And what we're finding out is the middleman serves a purpose. And that purpose actually drives higher revs, higher sales. It also drives higher profits. And we saw that with VF, and we've seen it with a lot of other very large businesses.
So this comment, which is fascinating, would have obvious implications for a company like Allbirds and maybe thinking about how they could go wholesale or how they could go, brick and mortar and partner up. What about companies like Warby and Rent the Runway, which seem to be vertically integrated? It just sort of just where that marginal investment dollar should go?
I think the fascinating thing is we had this buzzword called omni. And then everyone gave up that buzzword called omni, right? It was omni-channel and we all moved on. But what we have to remember is omni still means more than one, right? Omni sort of became e-commerce in people's minds. And the whole point is have it all. So when you think about these new brands, it's interesting, right? The companies you're mentioning are essentially embracing stores. They're essentially embracing the retail model that they disrupted. So at the end of the day, I think what we're acknowledging is that to become a big business, because at the end of the day, these are very loud businesses. They're very vocal. We've kind of created a very impressive platform behind these businesses, but they're far from the largest of businesses. So to scaling up involves following the path that others have outlined in the past. And so I think we're going to see all of these businesses embrace stores. But I think if you're in the board right now, the really important conversation is figuring out, is it just a question of brick and mortar versus digital? Or is it also a question of recognizing that being vertically integrated has tremendous benefits? It allows you to own the brand. It allows you to own the customer.
True.
But at the end of the day, does it keep you at a certain threshold, the same way that e-commerce did? And I think that's going to be a conversation we're going to be having for years to come now.
Yeah.
That was the biggest surprise.
And to me, it's sort of like the kids are going to be all right. These micro observations about, marginal profit dollars suggest that physical retail is going to be okay. Traditional shopping centers are going to be okay. I mean, this is a really fascinating insight, Simeon, into a talking point that much of the culture likes to talk about as if, we're all just going to be buying online for the rest of our lives.
I think right now there's this barbell, right? Like there's always a barbell, doesn't matter what we're talking about. And I think that if you're the largest of brands, simply walking away from department stores, simply walking away from wholesale is a mistake.
Yeah.
That's how you got to where you were. So if you're in that boardroom, figure out how to incorporate it all, right? Figure out where you should be, where you should go. But on the same token, on the other side of that barbell, if you're a smallest of brand, you're being taught, because everything we are teaching everyone, the word is go direct, do not go wholesale. And I think that's a mistake.
So
and I think there's some interesting brands that are small that are embracing wholesale.